During the live streams, I keep getting asked, Mike, what are your settings with Bookmap? You're in luck. Today, I'm going to give you guys a beginner's guide into Bookmap, everything you need to know to get started. So if you're new to Bookmap or you don't have any idea what Bookmap is, we come right over here to Bookmap's website. Take a look, right? You can see a basic candlestick chart. Then the screen wipes over and shows you Bookmap, and you can see the difference. And what that is with the candlestick chart, you see the market coming up, only to come back down. Well, why did it go lower at that point? If you look right up here, you can start to see liquidity right up at that area, which actually is a bunch of resting sell orders, and that goes ahead and pushes prices lower. Now, this is information you cannot get with a basic candlestick chart. Now, from the Bookmap website, I want you guys to click right over here where it says more. Then we want to go over here to the left and click right over here where it says knowledge base. Now, from that point, it's going to bring us right over here. Now, this is everything you're going to need to know to get started with Bookmap. And if there's anything I do not cover in this video, this is going to be your best friend. You can come right back over to knowledge base and basically click on any of these sections, and it gives a very detailed instructions on how to do or what something actually is within Bookmap. Now, let's come over and talk about data. If you're trading the futures markets, we have three options: Bookmap data, rhythmic data, or DX feed. For stocks, you can use DX feed or quote media. If we go ahead and we click right here on futures. Now, when we click on futures, you can see Bookmap has its own data. You get 50% off the first month. Now, if you actually look at this, right, this actually isn't bad. And I'm going to say that most traders are probably only going to need the CME data. Now, where you will want the CME bundle is if you're trading NYMEX, COMEX, or if you trade the YM futures product. If you only trade the NASDAQ, S&P 500, and the RTY, realistically, the CME data will be all that you need. Now, if you compare the prices of the Bookmap data to, say, the rhythmic data, which if we click on CME bundle, is $101. When we look at the Bookmap data for that same CME bundle, it's only $79. Then if you come over and just look at just the CME, you can see it's $40 over here. However, with the Bookmap data itself, it was only $34. Now, if you come over and look at DX feed data, if you want that for the futures markets, you can see that the CME data would be roughly $37. If you want the complete bundle, meaning the COMEX, NYMEX, CBOT, and the CME, that would actually be $97. So yes, the rhythmic data is a little bit more expensive. The Bookmap data, if you want all the indices, or even if you just want just the CME, would be cheaper. Now, if you want stocks, that is a separate data package. Now, if you don't want to pay Bookmap data fees, rhythmic data feeds, or even DX feed, there is another option. Now, in order to take advantage of this option I'm going to share with you guys, or maybe other ways, you're going to need to have NinjaTrader. And with NinjaTrader, you're going to need to go ahead and have level 2 data. So now inside of Bookmap, we want to come right over here to connections. Now you can see I already have NinjaTrader. We're going to click right here where it says configure. Now under configure, you can go ahead and you can search right over here where it says platforms and scroll on down. Now they do have TradeStation as well. I don't have TradeStation no longer, but right here on the NinjaTrader, if you didn't have it, there'll be a little download tab. Now, when we click on here, these instructions right here are going to essentially tell you where you have to go to get the file to import into NinjaTrader. So right here, there's basically just a few steps you'd have to follow. If you've installed any third-party programs, you know exactly how to do it. And it shows you where the Bookmap file is actually located on your PC. So now, once we've done that, we want to click right over here under connections, go to NinjaTrader. Then on our chart, I want to come over here to indicators. Then I want to go ahead and select Bookmap, double click to bring it right down here, click OK. Then we'll see Bookmap right over here. And since I'm recording this video on a Saturday, I'm actually in NinjaTrader's market playback. We should see that once it starts playing, I now need to go ahead and refresh the screen. So reload all historical data. We get a pop-up that looks like this. Just go ahead and hit OK and watch. As I hit play, we'll go ahead and we'll be able to see Bookmap. Now, as I hit play, we'll see Bookmap starting to populate. Now, since I'm doing market replay data, Ninja does not record level 2 data, but if you're watching this in a live market, you would see the resting liquidity above price and down here below price as well. Now, when I'm practicing my timing on getting into the market based on the aggression between the buyers and the sellers by looking at the bubble dots, which we'll talk about more later in this video, this is what I actually use market replay for. And that's why I have that connection to market replay. Personally, right now, as I'm recording this video, I am currently using Rithmic data, but I'm probably going to switch over to the Bookmap data in the very near future. Now, one thing I also want to mention is if you want to use the NinjaTrader connection for the replay feature, you do not have to have level 2 data within NinjaTrader. All you're going to be able to see is the bubble dots. You're not going to see the resting liquidity orders. However, if you have level 2 data and you're connected to that NinjaTrader connection, then you will be able to see the resting liquidity inside of Bookmap. Now, let's talk about how to add an instrument within Bookmap. You'll see a plus sign right over here. You can click on it. Right now, I'm connected to the NinjaTrader platform. Over the weekend, sometimes Rithmic is down when the market is closed, so I have to connect to NinjaTrader. But normally what you'd see up here is if you're using the Rithmic data connection, you'd see Rithmic up there. You make sure it's selected. Then right here under symbol, go ahead and type in the symbol that you want. If you're looking to trade the NASDAQ, it'd be NQ. Now for the exchange, all right, this is where it's gonna be important. If you're gonna trade the RTY, the NQ, or the ES, you want to have the exchange set to the CME, then go ahead and type in your symbol, add historical data, roughly 1 hour of historical data, then click subscribe and it'll go ahead. And that's how you add an instrument to Bookmap. Now let's talk about how you can zoom in and out on Bookmap. Now, one of the ways, if we want to go ahead and zoom out, we can scroll the mouse wheel out. If we want to go ahead and scroll in and lock in on a specific area, one thing you'll notice, you might have to keep dragging the chart. However, Bookmap has a pretty cool feature that you can see right up here in the top left-hand corner of your screen. If we click on that area, you see now there's a box around it, so it's highlighted. So now what I can do is, if I want to highlight right between this vertical line and this vertical line right here, I simply click my mouse and I keep the mouse left click held until right over here, I let go. Now it just zoomed in that whole area. Let's say I want to now zoom in between these two areas on the chart. I once again click the mouse, hold it over, and notice the green vertical lines. I'm actually going to go a little bit past this line right over here. Boom, it zooms it in even more so. Now that's going to continue to do it every single time as long as there's a blue box around this area. If I uncheck that right now, you see there's no blue box around it. So now if I hover my mouse, I can just scroll the chart manually by hand. It doesn't zoom anything in or out. If you want to undo the zoom in, zoom out, hit Control Z. It'll essentially bring you right back out to where you were. So that's how you can zoom in and out of the chart. Now, most of the time when I zoom in and out, I'm just simply scrolling the mouse wheel back and forth. But when you want to go see when the market's coming down to liquidity, being able to have this box checked right over here, zoom by drag, really helps really narrow in on a specific area on the chart. Now, the next feature I want to talk about within Bookmap is going to be right here. Create a screenshot. If we click right there on the button, you can post a chart image to Twitter, post a chart image to Facebook, copy link to the chart image, save chart image, meaning that you can screenshot it and save it right to your computer. Now, since I video record all of my trading sessions, this right here really is not a big deal to me. However, I may start posting some of these chart setups to Twitter in the very near future. And if you want to see how to set up this with your social media, that's when you want to go back over to the knowledge base and it'll give you exactly how to set that up. Now let's come over to the next section real quick. That's going to be studies add-on. And when we click on here, I want to show you guys something real quick. If you guys want to see candlesticks on the chart, I can essentially have that clicked and you put it if it's a 1 minute, 5 minute. Now we can see candlesticks within the delta dots as well. I normally have a conventional chart alongside with the Bookmap, so I don't really need to see that. Also, this is going to be the area where you can essentially customize any of the indicators you have. For instance, cumulative volume delta, we can change the colors of it and all that stuff. So any of the configurations you want to be able to do within the studies that you're using, then this would be the area in which you would be able to do so. Now, the next area we want to come over and look is going to be where it says configure add-on. Click on that, and this is where you can have any of the add-on features. Now, if you guys have joined me during the live stream, you guys have probably heard the knocking on the door, the woodpecker chirping, all that fun stuff. That's right here within Market Pulse. You can see I have it highlighted. If I click on here, this is where I have the ES and NQ both correlated, and the Market Pulse is basically to let us hear the pace of the tape. Now, I got the threshold. I've been telling you guys 79, but I guess I actually have it at 81. I know I've been going back and forth. So I actually have that threshold set at 81. If I want it to be a little bit less, I can just drag that over. I can also change the volume, but within any of these add-ons like the VWAP, liquidation, liquidity markers, this is where you would actually go to customize any add-ons for Bookmap. Now, if you want to go over here and you want to manage the add-ons as well, that'll populate a window over here. This is where you can go and look at other potential add-ons that you can use for Bookmap. Now, the next feature I'm going to share with you guys is going to be called synchronize charts. Now, I'm going to go ahead and highlight this area. Now, whichever area I highlight is going to be the master chart. You can see the crosshairs go over on the same chart at the same time frame, but watch what I do with this. If I go ahead and I want to zoom this chart up, it zooms up the chart on the right-hand side as well. So if I want to look, let's say in between each of these horizontal price slices, and let's say that I want it set to 5-minute intervals, now the chart on the right-hand side as well is also going to be basically zoomed into that same specific level. If I simply want to go ahead and look at this run right down here on the YM, and I sit there and zoom up and look right here and want to see, what it looked like when we came down here, I'm going to get that same zoom effect on the right-hand chart. So again, if you have multiple instruments that you're trading and you want them all zoomed in to roughly the same zoom level, this is a very useful feature. All right, so now let's go ahead and move over to where we have the contrast size along with the volume dots. We're going to start off with contrast. We slide this to the left, you see a lot more blue. We slide it all the way to the right. And what this helps me out with is I don't get caught up in looking at some of the minor orders. I want the larger orders basically highlighted to me. I don't want all this mess. I don't want to get, all mixed up with all this. So for me, I have this slid all the way over to the right. Now, when we come over and we look at the volume dots, I have this set right near the middle, just slightly below the middle. But if I zoom this up, you can see the size of the dot. Now, this does change the way in which you would trade as well. One, if you have it all the way to the right, a lot less trading opportunities in the market, but it is quite interesting as we look at that, but that's just way too big for me. And way down here, I simply cannot see anything. The older I get, the worse my eyes get. So I like it right near the middle point, right? Just slightly below middle is where I like it. Some people like it dead on the middle, a little bit over, but for me, I like it slightly below. I like how it clusters the dots together at that setting. So now let's come over and look at the next feature within Bookmap, and that's going to be right over here. We highlight it says drawing tools. Now, if we come over here, we can see we can have a vertical line, horizontal line, let's say a rectangle. Let's go ahead and have the rectangle. I can simply highlight a specific area. Now, if I simply go ahead and click back on here, click right where this dot is right here, right click, I can click on edit. Then if I want to change, let's say the color, maybe I want it blue, I can change it to blue. And now we have basically a blue rectangle. If we want the fill color to be slightly different, then we can also change that. I'll go ahead and change it over here. Click OK. Then if I want to change the size, I can just simply bump it up real quick. I can make this just as thick as I'd like. Click apply. Boom. Now it's on there. Now, if I want to go ahead and remove the drawing, just simply right click where this rectangle is. Click remove. Boom. The drawing is now removed. Now, next, if we come right over here next to drawing tools, and that's going to be where it says show data tooltip. Now, I want you guys to see before I click on that, notice I hover over any of these bubbles and nothing pops up. I am going to go ahead and get rid of the crosshairs for this example, but look, I'm right over the bubble. Nothing happens. If I click on show data tooltip, we can see as I hover over here, it basically shows me the time, the date, how many orders fired off on the bid at what specific price, and then the total volume right there at that specific price point. Now, if you want that on your chart, that's fantastic. If you don't, just simply deselect it. Now, the next feature is going to be right over here where it says crosshairs. And crosshairs is just what it says. If you want to see the crosshairs on your chart, all you have to do is have this selected. Some people like crosshairs, some people don't. It's really up to your own preference. The next feature just beyond that is going to be what's called time slices. When we highlight this, now we have several different options. I have mine set to none. Let's say we want this chart to be set to 5 minutes. And what this means, if I click 5 minutes right here, that means from the left edge all the way to the right edge to the current time is essentially going to be 5 minutes. If I come over here and I say, okay, I want the whole chart to be 1 minute, then you can see from the left-hand side to the right-hand side is exactly 1 minute in time. So that's a very easy way. If you say, you know what, I only want to look at the last X amount of minutes of data, this is a very useful feature to use. However, I currently do not use that. I always keep it set to none. I have my charts set exactly how I want to see them because I'm very specific on how the dots look. If you zoom in too much, that does change the way the dots look. Now let's look at the next feature, which is configure visible components. If we click on this, we can simply click candlestick right there, which is the second place. We can go last price. We can look at signal strength. We can look at strength level, volume bars on and off, volume dots on and off, VWAP on and off. And this is just another way we can turn on some of those features. Now, if we look at the next option right to the right of that, we have what says trade control panel. If I right click on this, now we can set it on either side of the screen. I can just simply drag this over here. Now we have it over here. If we want it on the other side of the COB, we can set it right over there. Now, just for this example, I'm going to keep it all the way back over to the left side of the chart. Now, when we're in replay feature, you can use this with both global and global plus, but I believe if you want to trade directly off of the charts with live data, I believe you have to have the global plus Bookmap option. And as a friendly reminder, if you guys decide to purchase Bookmap, use the link in the description box down below to save a little bit of money and help support the channel. Okay, so now as we're looking at this feature right here, right, where it says right here, it says off, we want to go ahead and select it the chart. Now you could go to DOM, but we're going to select it the chart for this example. Now your size, you can simply click one, or just simply click up or down right here to set your size, or you can select number 1, 5, however many contracts. Now keep in mind, every time you select here, it's going to continue to add contracts. So if it's set at 0, we can select 1, reset. If it's set at 20, you can go ahead and do that. Now I believe if this box is checked, then the order size after you place an order will automatically default back to 0. So for example, since I'm already in replay data, if I went ahead and I fired off a trade, let's say we're going to hit buy market, and then I'm just going to simply flatten the trade. Notice the position size went right back to 0. Now down below here as well, you can have OCO orders. You can have a bracket order. So you have a take profit and a stop loss order as well. And that's pretty neat as well, because if we go ahead and I'm going to bump this up just a little bit to show you guys, and we're going to bump both of these up just to kind of get them out of the way. And I'm going to simply pause this. I want to go ahead and hit buy market real quick. All right, we have to put a size in. So I'm going to put quantity of 1. I'm going to hit buy market. Now notice we have our stop and our limit in place as well. Now I'm going to simply fast forward this a little bit. I'm going to pause it. Now you can see where we entered the market right here with this triangle, but now I can grab this and move the limit order and move the stop loss order by just simply dragging it on the screen. Now I want to show you guys why this is important here in a moment, and I'm hoping my order does not get hit. I'm going to simply keep playing. I don't want my order to get hit just yet. Right now I can go ahead and pause it. And let's say I decide I want to move my order down once again, and maybe I decide to move the limit down as well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit play one more time, but I want you guys to see why this would be very useful if you're going back and using replay. One of the reasons is simply look, you can see as you scroll back through the trades that you place, if you're doing this in a replay feature, you can go back and see where you moved your stop loss to, where you moving it away, which should be a no-no, where you moving your target up and out, where you trying to basically capitalize on the moves when they're moving in your favor or not. Now, the next feature we're going to cover is right over here where it says heat map dimming. Now, if we go ahead and we zoom this all the way down, you can basically see we no longer see any orders. All we see is the bubble dots. If we scroll this all the way to the right, it makes it a lot brighter. Now, for some people, the brighter it is, it kind of mixes in with the dots a little bit. For myself, I kind of like it just slightly over the middle point here, just a bit. That way I can see the larger orders, but yet the bubbles still stick out to me very easily to distinguish. Now, some people are colorblind and they have a couple different options in which you could choose in terms of your bubbles. You can go with a feature like that, like this, or even this right here. So again, there are a couple different options in which you can use. Now let's talk about CVD real quick, the cumulative volume delta. Now notice what we have as we're coming down to this liquidity right here. Notice the cumulative delta. What does it do? Pops up, starts coming back down. So what is this? Divergence. If you look at the lows over here, price has definitely made a lower low. So as we come into this rest in liquidity order, we see the cumulative delta is stronger than where it was over this low here. Even though price is lower, that can give us a heads up that the market is likely going to bounce off of that area. Now, if you come right over here to this drop down, this is how you see it if it's not on your chart. You click right down here on the bottom and you can see the cumulative delta. So if you like to use cumulative delta, yes, that is part of Bookmap as well. Now let's talk about what is the COB. The COB is the current order book. This is showing us how many orders at each specific price point. So that liquidity level that we see resting right here, we see out here on the RTY, we have 57 contracts sitting at that price point. Now, if we want to zoom this chart up even more, we can see, all right, we can go back and we can see, all right, 14 contracts right there. We can see how many contracts are at any specific level. Now, if you simply right click right over there, you can basically look and say, okay, do you want to see volume? Do you want to see trade counter? Again, I like to see current order book, but you can also, if you right click, configure column, and that'll bring you to a window that looks like this. Hit the plus sign right over here, and we can add other things like session range volume profile. Go ahead and create it. Then I'm going to click close, and now we'll be able to see the volume profile over here to the right hand side. Now, since this is on recorded data, we're not going to see it at this point because that was not something that was recorded within Bookmap when I started it up. However, if we had live data going, we would see the session volume profile right over here on this column. Now, again, if we come back over here and we configure right over here, we can change this from title. So let's say we want to say VP, all right, volume profile. Again, hit close. Now you can see it says VP. Now, since I normally trade using volume profile anyways, then for me, I don't need to see the session volume profile. You guys that have followed my analysis videos, you guys know I have a very specific way in which I analyze the volume profile data. Now let's talk about the replay feature. Now for this, I'm needing to go ahead and close out of Bookmap. Now, if you ever want to be able to use the replay feature, as you go ahead and you go to log into Bookmap. Now, unless you're trading live off Bookmap, then most of the time you're going to be clicking on simulated mode. Now, this is where it's going to be very important. If you want to have replay data in which you can go back and replay after the market is closed and watch how the market developed or actually trade that in market replay, then you want to make sure you have this box checked right here. Record live data. If this is not checked, it will not record the data, which means if you try to log into replay mode, you're not going to have any data to go back and look at. Now, if we go to replay mode right here, I'm going to click on OK. I already have data saved. Now, if you want to change the days that you have selected, so if I don't want to look at August 30th, I can come right over here to where it says open data, and it's going to bring me right over here. And you guys can see, so you can see all the data in which I have stored. So I can select any of these days. Now, one of the things I do, so I can separate the data between the Asia session and the New York session, is I stop the recording somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock at night. If you look at the timestamp right over here, if it says 4:47, that means that's the time you stop recording. The one right above it, you can see I was trading the Asia session. It stopped recording at 10:22. And so what I do each day, instead of letting it run from when I get up and turn on the charts in the morning all the way until I'm done trading at Asia, I go ahead and shut it off so that I can go ahead and say, all right, if I know I want to trade the New York session, let me go ahead and pick this day, and then I can go ahead and watch and see how the market reacted at specific areas on the price chart. Now, this is an invaluable tool. Not only can we go ahead and we can hit fast forward by this button over here. All right, if we want to slow it down, if we want to pause it, just hit pause. If you want it to resume at 1x speed, click this button right here, and it goes right back to 1x speed. And where the pause button is right here, this is play, this is pause. If you have it on super fast speed, all right, and the market is just zinging, you hit pause and you unpause it, it's going to stay at that speed. However, if you come right back to set the speed 1, boom, it's right back to speed 1. Now, if the market moves a little bit too fast for you, you can also go slower than 1x speed. So if we look at this, this is 1/8 of the speed in which the market was moving. Now let's go to NASDAQ, because at least the NASDAQ still kind of moves. And this is 1/8 of the speed. So if you have a hard time seeing it in real time, or you want to see it in slow mode and see exactly how everything unfolded, this is one of the features you will want to see. And if you go back and watch and see how the market unfolded each and every day, you'll gain a lot of insights into the markets. Now, let's talk about the bubbles on Bookmap along with the rest of the liquidity. Now, the size of these bubbles really measure the aggression of either the buyers or the seller. The bigger the green bubble is, the more aggressive on the buy side of the market. The bigger the red bubble is, the more aggression to the downside. Now, during the live stream, you guys see me talk about this a lot. If we continue to push higher and higher and the bubbles continue to get smaller and smaller, we're likely going to get a knee-jerk reaction on the way back down. Also, if we see a large bubble near liquidity, the market pauses, a lot of times we get a little bit of a counter trend move back down before we go up. In this situation though, keep in mind the horizontal lines going across your screen, this represents resting liquidity in the market. If the lines are above price, that means there are resting sell limit orders above price. If the liquidity, like we see right down here, is below price, this is resting bid orders, meaning resting limit orders on the buy side of the market. Now, one thing we do not know by the resting orders, are they orders to get out of a position? For instance, if these are resting buy limit orders to the downside, is this nothing more than people closing out a trade? Or is this passive buyers saying, you know what? This is what I perceive to be a good price for the market. Let me see if I can jump in and for the market to go back up higher. That's why it's more important that we pay attention as we come up to those levels, the size of the dots, the size of the bubbles, as we can start to measure, how much aggression is coming into that area. Now, one thing you will notice quite often is when we get a large level of liquidity, like we see up here at 19,600, a lot of times the market will come up and say, yeah, pull back. It'll take a couple times before we go ahead and take that liquidity. Now, let's come over and look over here. Let's look at this liquidity level right here. I want you guys to pay very close attention. We come up to it, we get a big bubble, we get a little bit of a reaction on the way back down, not much. Once we start clearing back above that red bubble, guess what? Then it's a green light where we can start running the market, seeing if we can go ahead and hunt the next liquidity level or just take a quick little scalp off of this area. Our stop loss could be right below this bubble. Now, maybe you don't like this one right here. It's a little bit too early for you. The market bounces up. What do? We come back down and look at the size of this red bubble. Notice there's a lot less aggression as the market's coming back down to the downside. So we had selling right here. The market pops up. We come back into it and there is less selling at that area. What do we think is likely going to occur? Yes, the market is likely going to pop up. Keep in mind, in trading, nothing is 100%. Now, if you found this tutorial helpful, hit the like button down below. Make sure you subscribe. Now, if you want to learn trading techniques using Bookmap, check out this playlist right here and/or join me during my next live stream.